Okay, I need to tell you something, and honestly, it might completely shift how you see yourself starting tomorrow morning, because at 5:18 a.m. on February 10th, Venus crosses into Pisces, and I don't use the word crosses lightly. This is the threshold. This is the moment when the divine feminine stops being a concept you read about and becomes a frequency running through your actual body, through your womb. And here's what's really getting my attention. Women are already feeling it, like something is unwinding inside them. If you've been having these moments over the past 48 hours where your body just wants softness, where you can't tolerate the hustle anymore, where you're craving water and rest and pleasure in a way that feels almost desperate, stay with me on this one. There's a very specific reason that's happening, and I'm going to explain exactly what's shifting in your womb later in this video. But first, there's something I think you need to understand. Tomorrow morning isn't just another Venus transit. Venus is entering her exaltation. In Pisces, she becomes what she was always meant to be. Not the Instagram goddess, not the perform your femininity for male approval version. The real thing, the oceanic, boundaryless, magnetic pull that doesn't chase, doesn't perform, doesn't hustle, it just is, and everything comes to it. Your body has been waiting for this, even if you didn't know it. So here's the thing most women don't realize, and this was a huge realization for me when I started understanding what Venus in Pisces actually does to the female body. For the past month, Venus has been in Aquarius, mental, detached, future-oriented. You've probably been in your head about love, about desire, about what you want, analyzing it, strategizing it, maybe even feeling disconnected from your body entirely. But tomorrow that flips, and I mean it completely inverts. Venus in Pisces isn't in your head, it's in your womb, it's in your skin, it's in the way water moves through your cells, and the way your breath deepens when you finally let yourself feel what you've been avoiding. Have you noticed how exhausted you've been lately? Like the mental effort of being a woman in this world is finally too much? That's not burnout. I believe that's your body preparing to drop into something deeper, something that doesn't require effort at all. And here's what really gets me about this. Your womb is already responding. Even before Venus officially enters Pisces, the shift is happening. If you've been bleeding heavier than usual, if your dreams have been intense and aquatic, if you've been crying for no reason or feeling this pull toward water, baths, the ocean, that's the magnetic field activating. Your body knows what's coming, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. Does that make sense? The womb as a magnetic portal, not a manifestation machine. Okay, so I need to be really clear about something, because I think this is where most spiritual content gets Venus in Pisces completely wrong. They'll tell you this is your manifestation moment, that you need to visualize and affirm and high vibe your way into receiving, and honestly, that's the exact opposite of what this energy is asking for. Here's the metaphor that helped me understand this. Think about the ocean. Does the ocean manifest? Does it hustle? Does it chase the moon? No, the ocean is magnetic. The moon pulls it. The tides respond. The ocean doesn't do anything except be so vast, so deep, so full of its own nature that gravity itself bends toward it. That's your womb tomorrow. Venus in Pisces turns your womb into a gravitational field, not through effort, not through strategy, through depth, through being so full of your own pleasure, your own softness, your own oceanic nature, that what's meant for you has no choice but to move toward you. And here's the part that might make you uncomfortable. This isn't about deserving. This isn't about being good enough or healed enough or spiritual enough. The ocean doesn't earn the moon's attention. It just exists in its fullness, and the moon responds. Your womb works the same way when you stop performing femininity and start inhabiting it. But I really need you to understand this. The magnetic power I'm talking about isn't passive. It's not sit back and wait. It's active receptivity. It's the kind of power that says, I know what I want. I know what feels good in my body, and I will only receive what matches that frequency. That's Aphrodite energy, not the male fantasy of her, the real goddess who rose from the ocean fully formed, owing nothing to anyone, answerable only to her own pleasure. What's actually happening astrologically, and why tomorrow changes everything. So let me break down what's happening tomorrow morning at 5:18 a.m. because the timing of this is almost too perfect. Venus enters Pisces at 0 degrees, the Aries point we talked about before. That means this shift is visible. It's global. Every woman on Earth is going to feel this to some degree, whether she knows astrology or not. But here's what makes this even more powerful. Venus in Pisces is what's called an exaltation. In traditional astrology, this is where Venus operates at her highest frequency, not in Taurus, where she's grounded and material, not in Libra, where she's balanced and relational. In Pisces, she's transcendent. She's the divine feminine that doesn't need a reason to exist. She just pours herself out like water, and everything she touches transforms. And there's something else happening that I think is crucial. Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, just entered Aries. So while Venus is in Pisces, dissolving your boundaries and activating your magnetic womb, Neptune is in Aries, giving you the warrior courage to actually claim what you want. Does that make sense? It's like the universe is saying, here's the softness, here's the receptivity, here's the magnetic pull, and here's the spine to hold it. Here's the fire to protect it. Here's the I am to anchor it. This combination only happens once every 165 years. The last time Neptune was in Aries while Venus moved through Pisces, we were in the middle of the abolitionist movement. Women were fighting for bodily autonomy, for the right to say no, for the right to choose what entered their bodies and what didn't. And I believe we're in a similar moment now. The divine feminine isn't rising to be nice. She's rising to reclaim sovereignty over the female body, over pleasure, over desire, over the womb itself. The false feminine dies tomorrow, and that might hurt. Now here's something I really need to warn you about before we get to the 3 signs, because if you don't understand this, you might completely miss what's actually happening tomorrow. There's a version of femininity that's going to die when Venus enters Pisces, and if you've been performing that version, this might feel like a death. I'm talking about the false feminine, the perform for approval version, the make yourself small version, the I'll be soft so you'll love me version, the feminine that exists to serve the masculine gaze, the masculine comfort, the masculine fantasy. That feminine cannot survive in Pisces. Pisces dissolves performance. It dissolves boundaries, and if your femininity is based on containing yourself for someone else's comfort, tomorrow is going to feel like drowning. And here's the thing, you might resist this. You might feel yourself wanting to go back to the Aquarius detachment, the mental control, the strategy, because Pisces is scary, Pisces is surrender, Pisces is letting the ocean have you. But I really believe the women who surrender to this death, who let the false feminine dissolve, they're the ones who emerge as Aphrodite, fully formed, fully sovereign, fully magnetic. The danger is trying to control this energy, trying to make it safe, trying to keep performing while pretending to be surrendered. Venus in Pisces sees through that immediately. It won't work. You either let yourself be dissolved and reformed, or you stay in the shallow end pretending you're swimming in the deep. Does that make sense? And honestly, this is something I've been feeling myself. This terror of what happens if I stop controlling my femininity, if I stop making it palatable, if I just let myself be as soft and as demanding as I actually am. That's the edge, that's the portal. Pisces, you're becoming Aphrodite incarnate, and it's going to overwhelm you. If you're a Pisces, sun, moon or rising, I need you to really hear this. Tomorrow isn't just a transit for you. I genuinely believe this is your initiation into your full power, and I don't use those words lightly. Venus is entering your first house, the house of self, of identity, of how you show up in the world. And this isn't just any Venus. This is Venus exalted. This is Venus operating at the frequency she was designed for. What does that mean for you? You literally become the walking embodiment of the divine feminine. And I'm not talking about some ethereal concept. I mean, people are going to look at you and feel something they can't name, a pull, a magnetic draw, the kind of presence that makes people want to be near you, help you, give to you, worship you even. But here's what I need you to understand. This isn't about being beautiful in the conventional sense. Aphrodite didn't rise from the ocean because she was pretty. She rose because she was inevitable, because pleasure and beauty and desire are fundamental forces of nature, and she is those forces made flesh. That's what's available to you tomorrow. Not pretty, not nice, not palatable, inevitable. Now let me be real with you about what you've been through to get here. For the past several years, you've probably felt invisible, overlooked, like your softness was a weakness, like your sensitivity was too much, like you needed to harden yourself to survive in this world. That's been Saturn's influence, that's been the collective's influence. But tomorrow, all of that inverts. Your softness becomes your power, your sensitivity becomes your antenna. Your ability to feel everything, to merge with everything, that becomes the exact thing that makes you magnetic. The specific prediction I'm seeing for Pisces is this. Between tomorrow and March 6th, when Venus leaves your sign, you're going to attract something or someone that proves you don't need to perform to be desired. It might be a person who sees you in your mess, in your vulnerability, in your I haven't showered in 2 days realness, and says you're everything I want. Or it might be an opportunity that comes to you without you chasing it. A creative project, a collaboration, a door that opens because someone felt your frequency and had to work with you. But here's the key, Pisces. You cannot force this. You cannot strategy this. The moment you start performing femininity, the magic breaks. This is about being so deeply yourself, so unapologetically soft and boundaryless and oceanic, that the right things have no choice but to drift toward you, like debris washing up on the shore. You don't chase the waves, you let them bring you what's yours, and with Neptune in Aries giving you courage, you'll also have the fire to say no to what isn't yours, to turn away what doesn't match your frequency. That combination, magnetic pull plus sovereign no, that's Aphrodite, that's you for the next 4 weeks. Cancer, your womb becomes a pleasure sanctuary, and everyone wants in. Now Cancer, sun, moon, or rising, your activation is different but equally powerful, because Venus in Pisces is hitting your 9th house. And I know that might sound less sexy than the first house, but stay with me because this is where it gets really interesting for you. The 9th house rules expansion, philosophy, higher learning, but it also rules the quest for meaning. And when Venus moves through here, especially in Pisces, I believe your womb stops being just a physical space. It becomes a sanctuary, a pilgrimage site, a place people want to visit, not for sex, but for healing, for transformation, for the kind of touch that puts their soul back together. Here's what I think has been happening for you. You've probably been everyone's emotional caretaker for as long as you can remember. The one who holds space, the one who nurtures, the one whose womb, whether you've given birth or not, carries the grief and joy of everyone around you, and it's exhausted you. It's made you resentful. It's made you wonder if anyone actually sees you, or if they just see a resource to extract from. Tomorrow that changes. Venus in your 9th house says your nurturing isn't free anymore. Your womb isn't a public utility, it's a sacred space. And entry requires reverence, it requires reciprocity, it requires the other person to bring their own fullness, not their emptiness expecting you to fill it. Does that make sense? This is the shift from maternal caretaking to sovereign pleasure sharing. And here's what's going to happen practically. You're going to start noticing who in your life has been taking from your womb without giving back. The people who come to you for emotional labor but never ask how you're doing. The people who want your softness but can't handle your boundaries. The people who love your nurturing but reject your needs. Venus in Pisces is going to make this so obvious you won't be able to unsee it. And with Neptune in Aries, you're going to have the courage to close the temple doors, to say, not you, not anymore. But here's the beautiful part. As you clear out the energy vampires, something else arrives. I'm seeing situations where someone, maybe a lover, maybe a friend, maybe even a stranger, approaches your womb with reverence. They bring offerings, not literal gifts, though that might happen, but energetic offerings. They bring their own fullness. They bring curiosity about your pleasure. They ask what you want instead of assuming you want to give. And when that happens, Cancer, when someone finally treats your womb as the sanctuary it is, you're going to feel something you maybe haven't felt in years. You're going to feel worshipped, not for what you give, but for what you are. The ninth house also rules travel and foreign connections. So some of you might find that your magnetic womb attracts someone from a different culture, a different background, someone who sees femininity differently than the people around you have, someone who wasn't socialized to expect women to be endless givers. That could be really healing. It could show you that the version of femininity you've been performing, the endless mother, that's cultural, that's conditional, and there are other ways to be a woman, other ways to inhabit your womb, and Venus in Pisces is about to introduce you to them. My advice for you, Cancer: get really clear on what pleasure feels like in your body, not nurturing someone else, not making someone else feel good. What makes you feel good? What makes your womb pulse with its own desire, separate from anyone else's needs? Because that frequency, that selfish in the best way pleasure, that's what's going to attract the reciprocal love you've been starving for. Scorpio, your womb becomes the portal that heals generations and everyone feels it. Okay, Scorpio, sun, moon or rising, this is where things get mystical, because Venus in Pisces is hitting your fifth house, the house of creativity, pleasure, romance, and here's what's important: children and legacy. And when Venus exalts in this house for you, I genuinely believe your womb becomes a channel for ancestral healing. Let me explain what I mean by that. You know how Scorpio rules death, transformation, the underworld, all the things we're not supposed to talk about. Your womb carries that frequency. It's not just a physical space. It's a portal between worlds, between the living and the dead, between what was and what's being born. And for most of your life, that's probably felt heavy, like your womb carries grief that isn't even yours, like you're holding the pain of mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers who never got to express their rage, their desire, their sovereignty. Tomorrow, Venus in Pisces gives you permission to bleed that out, not literally, though some of you might have intense menstrual experiences during this transit, but energetically, creatively, through art, through sex, through the kind of pleasure that's so deep it reaches back through time and says to your ancestors, this is what you were denied, this is what I'm claiming for all of us. And here's what I've been noticing about Scorpio placements during Venus in Pisces transits. They become irresistible in this really specific way. It's not surface attraction, it's not aesthetic, it's this sense that if someone gets close to you, if they enter your womb space, they're going to be transformed, they're going to touch something ancient, they're going to access parts of themselves they didn't know existed. That's Aphrodite's original power. She didn't just inspire lust, she initiated people into the mysteries, into the sacred sexuality that connects the physical and spiritual. The fifth house also rules romance and creative self-expression. So practically, here's what I think is coming for you. If you're single, you might attract someone who isn't afraid of your depth, someone who wants to go to the underworld with you, or sees your intensity and your capacity to hold shadow and says, yes, I want that. Not someone who's trying to fix you or lighten you up, someone who understands that your darkness is your gift. If you're in a relationship, this transit might deepen it in ways that feel almost overwhelming. The sex might become more intense, more ritualistic, more about energy exchange than physical sensation. And if your partner can't meet you there, if they're still operating at a surface level, you're going to feel the gap so acutely. Venus in Pisces won't let you pretend anymore. It won't let you settle for connections that don't touch your soul. But here's where it gets really interesting for you, Scorpio. The fifth house also rules creativity and children, and I'm seeing situations where your creative work during this transit becomes a channel for your womb's wisdom. You might write something, paint something, create something that expresses the depth of female experience in a way that makes other women say, oh my God, you just said what I've been feeling my whole life but couldn't name. That's your womb speaking. That's the ancestral knowing pouring through you. And for some of you, this might bring up questions about motherhood, not necessarily physical motherhood, but the question of what you want to birth into the world, what legacy you want to leave, what you want to create that will outlive you. Venus in Pisces makes that question visceral. It makes it a felt sense in your womb, not a mental idea. And with Neptune in Aries, you might have the courage to make a choice you've been avoiding, to say yes to the creative project, to say no to the expectation, to claim your womb's creative power for whatever form of birth feels true to you. My advice for you, Scorpio: don't try to make this energy light or easy or palatable. Lean into the depth, lean into the intensity. Let your womb be the underworld portal it is. The right people, the right opportunities, they're not afraid of that. They're magnetized by it. The shadow side, nobody's talking about. Magnetic doesn't mean passive. Now I need to be really real with you about something, because I think there's a huge misunderstanding about Venus in Pisces that could actually harm you if you're not careful. There's this idea that feminine magnetic energy is passive, that you just lie back and let things come to you, that you surrender and the universe provides. And while there's truth in that, it's incomplete. And the incomplete version can lead you into situations that feel magnetic but are actually just you abandoning yourself. Here's what I mean. Venus in Pisces can make you so open, so boundaryless, that you confuse invasion with attraction. You might feel a pull towards someone or something, and because it feels intense, because it feels fated, you assume it's meant for you. But sometimes that pull is a test. Sometimes the universe is asking, will you abandon yourself for this feeling? Will you override your intuition because the chemistry is strong? The shadow of Venus in Pisces is martyrdom. It's sacrificing yourself on the altar of love or beauty or spiritual connection. It's the woman who gives her body to someone who doesn't cherish it because the sex feels transcendent. It's the woman who abandons her boundaries because dissolving into another person feels like coming home. It's the woman who mistakes suffering for devotion. And I really need you to hear this. Aphrodite wasn't a martyr. She took lovers when she wanted them and left when she was done. She caused the Trojan War because a mortal man didn't honor her properly. She turned people into trees when they disrespected her. The sanitized version of her, the goddess of love who gives and gives and gives, that's patriarchy's rewrite. The real Aphrodite was sovereign. She was pleasure-seeking. She was ruthless about her own desires. She used her magnetic power to get exactly what she wanted, and she felt no guilt about it. That's the energy you need to embody. Magnetic, yes. Receptive, yes. But also clear, also boundaried, also willing to say, this doesn't feel good in my body, so no, even if it looks good on paper, even if everyone else thinks you should want it. Your womb knows, and Venus in Pisces is asking you to trust that knowing more than any external validation, the 24-hour portal, and what happens at 5:18 a.m. So let's talk about the actual moment tomorrow morning when this shift happens, 5:18 a.m. Eastern Time. Venus crosses from Aquarius into Pisces at 0 degrees, and I really believe there's an activation that happens in that moment, not just astrologically, but physically in your body. If you can, I'd suggest being conscious for this. Set an alarm, not to do anything elaborate, just to feel it, to put your hands on your womb and notice what's there. You might feel warmth, you might feel a pulse, you might feel emotions rising that don't have a clear source. That's the magnetic field turning on. That's your womb remembering it's not just an organ, it's a portal. And then I'd suggest doing something really simple. Ask your womb what it wants, not what you think it should want, not what would be spiritual or evolved or acceptable. What does your womb actually desire? And then listen. You might get images, you might get sensations, you might get a clear knowing. Whatever comes, don't judge it, don't edit it, just receive it. Because here's what I think happens when you do that. When you honor your womb's actual desires instead of the desires you think you should have, the magnetic field strengthens. You become more attractive not by trying to be attractive, but by being in integrity with your own pleasure. And that integrity, that alignment between what you say you want and what your body actually wants, that's what makes you irresistible. Over the next 4 weeks, pay attention to what drifts toward you without effort. The person who texts you out of nowhere, the opportunity that lands in your lap, the creative idea that arrives fully formed. That's your womb's magnetic field pulling in what matches its frequency. And also pay attention to what you have to force, what you have to convince yourself to want, what requires constant effort to maintain. That's not magnetic. That's you swimming against your own current. Why this feels different from other Venus transits. You know, I've tracked Venus through all the signs, and Pisces is different. There's something about this transit that goes deeper than attraction or beauty or relationship dynamics. I think it touches the mystical, the part of you that knows you're more than a body, more than a personality, more than the story you've been telling about who you are. Venus in Pisces dissolves the story, and that can be terrifying because if you're not the story, who are you? But it can also be the most liberating thing you've ever experienced, because underneath the story, underneath the performance, underneath everything you've been taught about how to be a woman, there's something oceanic, something vast, something that doesn't need to be understood to be powerful, and I think that's what's being activated tomorrow. Not a new story about yourself. The dissolution of story entirely, the return to essence, to the formless, boundaryless, pleasure-seeking, life-creating force that existed before language, before culture, before anyone told you who you were supposed to be. That's Aphrodite. That's the divine feminine. That's your womb when it's freed from the performance of femininity and allowed to just be what it is. A magnetic portal, a pleasure sanctuary, a creative force. And honestly, that's what I think the world needs right now. Not more women performing femininity perfectly, more women embodying their womb's actual power, the kind that doesn't apologize, the kind that doesn't shrink, the kind that says, I am pleasure, I am creation, I am the ocean that pulls the moon, and you can worship me, or you can leave, but I will not diminish myself for your comfort. We're all becoming Aphrodite together. So if you've been feeling the call, if you've been feeling your womb wake up, if you've been feeling this desperate need for softness and pleasure and sovereignty all at once, you're not alone. We're all crossing this threshold together. And on the other side, I really believe we're going to remember what we were before the world told us who to be. All right, if you're still here, thank you so much for being on this journey with me. If this resonated and you want to see more content like this, please hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know, and I really want to hear from you in the comments. What's your sun, moon, or rising? How are you feeling this Venus shift in your body? What's your womb telling you it wants? We're all in this together, and I think sharing our experiences makes the magic stronger. Take care of yourself tomorrow morning. Honor what your womb is asking for, and I'll see you in the next one.